Parenting live streaming as we discuss every single week one of the interesting topics that interests all the Muslim families all over the world. For those people who follow our online activities, we go live every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. For the last time, we actually talked about dutifulness to parents, like birrul walidain. We highlighted this and we mentioned the ayat and the ahadith, and we also mentioned the stories of the Sahaba that talk about this situation, or like talking about this topic, if you can say. And today, inshallah, we're going to talk about a topic that we do not actually hear about a lot. All the time we hear about like birrul walidain, dutifulness to parents, respecting parents, taking care of parents. But we do not actually hear a lot about dutifulness to children. If you have a kid, this means that you actually have something to deal with them. You have to deal with them in a specific way. And that's inshallah what we're going to highlight today with our Imam Hussein Ad-Din Alam. Salam alaikum, Imam. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Glad that everything is going well. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah,
For
thank
all
you.
of our dear viewers, Imam Hussein, he's the head of education of Muslimito Institution. He is a member of Al Azhar Fatwa Global Center, and he is a lecturer at faculty of Sharia and Law. Al Azhar University. Imam Hussein, for the last time, as I mentioned in the very beginning, that you actually covered the topic. You mentioned the ayat related to it. You mentioned the ahadith related to it, stories from the Sahaba, whatsoever. And for today, I want you to mention all the points related to this one. Did Allah actually ask our parents, or ask the parents, the mom and the dad, to do something towards their kid? Please, I'd like to listen to this one.
Thank you so much. I start as always in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praises due to Allah, the Almighty, the Lord of the worlds. May Allah's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon His final and last messenger, Muhammad. And may Allah's peace, mercy, and blessings be with you, Sheikh Muhammad, and all our dear respected viewers across the globe. Definitely, it's a very important topic, and the significance of this topic stems from the fact that it highlights the balance that Islam emphasizes when it comes to all relationships. Because when we speak of the relationship between the parents on the one hand and the children on the other, here we are speaking about rights and obligations. And definitely, every right has on its other side an obligation, and this is the balance that we need to maintain, and that Islam aims to strike, so that we have healthy relationships, and that and thus these healthy relationships permeate all over the community and the society, and thus we have a whole healthy society. Let me start here by sharing a story
Yeah,
with
please.
with all our dear respected viewers, Sheikh Muhammad. One day, a man came to Umar ibn Khattab, the great companion Umar ibn Khattab, as he was the caliph, or the head of the state, and the man came complaining uh, about his son, that his son was not dutiful towards him as a father. Definitely, upon hearing this, Umar ibn al-Khattab, the companion, he got angry, and he was not happy to hear the complaint, or all these complaints coming from the part of the father. So as he started to speak to the son actually asked Omar to pause in order to listen to him first. And the son asked Omar, do I have rights over my parents? And Omar said, definitely yes. So, this is the first point here, that it is very clear in Islam
Hmm.
that children have rights. So, this is a very important point to keep in mind. Then the son asked Omar, so what are my basic or my essential rights as a son over my parents? And in particular, here in this context, when it comes to the part of the father. So Omar said, to choose for you the righteous mother, and to teach you the noble Quran,
Hmm.
and to select for you a decent name. And then, upon hearing this from Omar, the son said, my father has fulfilled none of them. None of these rights was fulfilled or met by my father. And at this point, Omar said, you have mistreated and you have neglected, he said to the father,
Hmm.
you have mistreated and you have neglected the rights of your son before he did that towards you. Highlighting the fact that children, as I have mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
have rights over their parents, and thus these are obligations that are on the shoulders of the parents towards the children. And with this understanding and in light of this story, we better understand a very significant hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Alayhi salatu
as he
wassalam.
is sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as he is reported to have said, may Allah have mercy on the parent who assists and who helps their children to be dutiful towards them.
Hmm.
And this is why it's very important to speak of the rights of the children when it comes to the parents, and thus we have a healthy family and therefore a healthy society.
Yeah. So if we can just get to highlight the 3 points that you
Yeah,
mentioned concerning the rights, you said to
yeah,
pick a suitable name, to teach them Quran,
yes.
and
To choose a righteous partner or spouse,
yeah,
be it the father or the mother, because both of them has to choose the right spouse, which
yeah,
would thus be a righteous parent.
yeah, I see. That's really interesting, actually, even for me. Like finally listening to something related to the rights of children and so on. And subhanallah, what's really special about our Islam, that our Islam all the time covers every single point that we can
Yes,
say. Like, it
definitely yes.
covered all the aspects of the society. So at the end of the
Yeah,
day, we're gonna have this. So at the end of the day, we're gonna have this. If we can say, harmony in our society and stuff.
yes.
So, Imam Hussein, is there any ayah in the Quran or something that highlight this point?
This is definitely a very important question, and definitely there are many verses in this regard. And to better answer this question, Sheikh Muhammad, let me say something very important here in order to lay the foundations
Hmm.
for this very important question to be answered thoroughly.
Yeah.
Let me first, or at the outset, state it very clear, or very clearly and in a very clear manner, that the children has, or all of them, I mean, have rights,
Hmm.
and these rights do not only exist with the existence of the children. Rather, these rights even precede the birth of the children.
Hmm.
You see how important this is? The parents have to fulfill
Hmm.
their duties or their obligations towards their children even before the birth of the children. And
Hmm.
that's by choosing the right spouse. And this is why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he
عليه الصلاة والسلام.
has very clearly stated on the part of both of the parents when it comes to the woman, when she and chooses or looks for a husband, the Prophet
Hmm.
ﷺ has stated very clear criteria to look
Hmm.
for. The same when it comes to the man who is looking to get married. The Prophet ﷺ has mentioned clear criteria to look up to when they are looking for a partner or for a spouse to get married to.
Yeah.
So when it comes to choosing a husband, the Prophet ﷺ has clearly stated, إذا
عليه
جاءكم
الصلاة
من
والسلام.
ترضون دينه وخلقه فزوجوه. That's if you are being proposed to by a man that you are happy with his commitment to his deen and his character or his manners, then
Hmm.
this is the one that you would get married to. Likewise, when it comes to the man looking to get married, the Prophet ﷺ has also clearly
عليه الصلاة
stated,
والسلام. Hmm.
فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتْ يَمِينُكَ. That the most important criterion or quality to look for in a woman that you want to get married to is her
Deen.
Islam, is her deen, is
Yeah.
her commitment and her practice of her deen.
Yeah.
And this is a very comprehensive piece of advice that comprises many important elements that each and every person who is looking to get married needs to keep in mind.
Hmm.
Why? Because the point of the statements of the Prophet ﷺ, or in
عليه الصلاة
this
والسلام.
piece of guidance, is to direct the attention of young people towards what is important to look for. So the criteria should not be just beauty. The
Hmm.
criteria should not just be wealth or a high social status,
Yeah.
because all this can change anytime.
Hmm.
No one will be all the time good looking. Uh, Anything can happen, and the social status of the
People
person
change. People
exactly
change. Things change whatsoever. Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
But when the person is genuinely keen and committed to the teachings of Islam and to the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and
Hmm.
His Messenger, this is the person that can be trusted to build a family with and to raise children in a righteous manner. So, this
Yeah.
is the first right that Islam highlights when it comes to the rights of the children.
Yeah.
And
So
this,
I'd like
yeah,
to comment over here in this point as
sure,
sometimes in some societies, if you can say, in some families,
yeah,
they forget about this one and they even like force their daughters to marry somebody else just because this other family is a little bit, maybe rich, they have a lot of money, maybe they have a very high position in the society whatsoever.
yeah.
So they
I see what you
force
mean.
the daughter and the little girl just have nothing but to accept whatever like
Mm,
her parents say. So
mm.
as like according to what you said right now, this is totally not accepted, and they are violating her own rights, if you can say, right?
Yeah, definitely in Islam, the
Mm-hmm.
woman has the right to choose the person that she will be married to. And this is
Yes.
why there are many incidents in this regard that
Mm-hmm.
happened during the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ.
عليه
And
الصلاة والسلام.
I can recall here that incident in which a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ, complaining that her father is forcing her to marry a man, so that and the only reason her father was doing this was to raise his social status.
Yeah.
Upon
Yeah.
knowing this,
Exactly.
the Prophet ﷺ
Hmm.
completely rejected the marriage, and he gave the daughter the right to choose the person that she wants to get married to. So
Yeah.
in Islam, this is out of question that a woman may not be forced. Definitely, it can be understood that sometimes the parents want to assist, be it the daughter or the son, in choosing what they think or what they believe
Hmm.
is the right person to get married to, but this has to be done in a consultation and not to be forced or to be done in a way that deprives or denies
Hmm.
uh, the man or the woman the right to choose their spouse. And this is
So,
why the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ is clear. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, he
عليه الصلاة والسلام.
explains why there should be a hierarchy of criteria, and on top of them is the man's or the woman's commitment to their deen, their noble manners, and their ethics.
Yeah. So, commenting on what you have just said,
Yes,
the children, or if we can say the females, are allowed to say no, and for some situations, like the situation you said right now concerning being forced to a marriage that they do not that they do not
yes,
like whatsoever. So, if they said no in this situation, they're not going to be actually they're not going to be doing uquq, if you can say that uh, they are not obeying their parents, and in this situation they're not going to get sayyat or something, because that's their own right. As for a
yes,
lot of people, actually, they totally violate their their kids right. And you know what? You're gonna do this. Well, you didn't do this. You're gonna get a lot. You're gonna go to hellfire because you're
yeah,
not
yeah,
listening to my instructions whatsoever. And
yeah,
subhanallah, we find this a lot,
yes,
and this is why our religion all the time, as I mentioned at the very beginning, subhanallah, it mentioned a lot of aspects so we can get a very stable society.
yes,
And this is why also as well Allah all the time ask us to learn, to seek knowledge, to get to develop ourselves whatsoever.
yes,
um, so that's why we need to learn and we need to do such things. So let's
definitely, yes.
move on to the other points. You said like there are 3 points: picking the husband or something, or whenever they get married. The second one, memorizing Quran, and the first one was picking the suitable name, if you can say, right?
Yes. So
Yeah,
this is why, going back to this story before mentioning the verses of the Quran,
yeah,
as I mentioned, when Omar, peace, may Allah be pleased with him, heard this, so he addressed the father right away, telling him that you have neglected the rights of your son before he did that towards you. And as you have mentioned, Sheikh Muhammad, it is very important to pause with regards to these three rights, and to reflect about them, and to see the significance and the paramount importance of each one of them.
hmm,
As we have mentioned, the first one is choosing the righteous parent, which is very important, and it is abundantly clear, and it's very explicit that this is very important, because when we speak of marriage, it is not something temporary. It is not something that will just uh, last for a couple of days.
yes.
Rather, in principle, marriage in Islam is a lifelong commitment.
Yeah, sure.
This is
You're not
why,
doing this for a couple of days or something, and then
exactly,
like it's almost forever because like
yes.
the girl is kind of giving up her like sacrificing her whole life, and every single thing gets changed. So yeah.
So this is, as we can clearly see,
Hmm,
the very first point to keep in mind, which
hmm,
is choosing the right person. So
hmm.
this is why each and every person looking to get married, they need to be extra cautious about this, and not to be looking for um, temporary things, or
Yeah.
just things in a superficial manner.
Hmm.
So this is a very important point.
Yeah.
The second point here is the fact that the parents have the duty to teach their children the Noble Quran or parts of it. And this was very clear here in this statement of Umar, may Allah be pleased with him,
Hmm.
which highlights the importance of education. So the point here is to raise the children according to the Noble Quran. Definitely to help them to memorize it, and most importantly to understand it, and to raise them according to the ethics and the manners of the Noble Quran. And most importantly as well is for the parents themselves at the first place to be, or to serve and to function as role models for their children when it comes to implementing and applying the ethics and the noble manners of the noble Quran. This is very important. And let me state something very openly here.
Yeah, please.
Some parents think that all what they have to do regarding their children is to only provide money and to put food on the table.
Yeah, that happens in a
Yeah,
lot of families, a
yeah,
lot of, and even if they're not doing it all, like I mean, the parent, the father and mother, maybe
mm,
one of them just do it. Like the mother takes care of one, two, three, but the father is just a money machine. You know, it's like an ATM where you just get money from.
mm,
So as you said, now the father and the mother, or if you can
mm,
say the parents,
yeah.
aren't supposed to just provide food or provide like money or provide anything. So they need to go farther to do what exactly, Imam?
Yeah, this extra mile of being there for their children.
Yeah.
And again, the duty of the parents is not only to take care of the physical well-being of the children.
Hmm.
Definitely this is very important. And the noble Quran and the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ are very clear in this regard, and we understand that uh, the parents have a commitment towards their children. And there is a plethora of traditions or statements of the Prophet ﷺ, in this regard. As for example, in this regard, the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, كلكم راع
Alayhi
وكلكم
salatu
مسؤول عن
wassalam.
رعيته, that each and every one of you is a guardian, and
Hmm.
they will be held accountable for what they are responsible for. And he mentioned that and the parents are responsible when it comes to raising their children, and a woman is responsible when it comes to protecting the family and the house
Hmm.
of the family. So Islam in this regard is very clear when it comes to emphasizing the importance of maintaining these rights, and warning in very strong terms against neglecting or turning a blind eye
Hmm.
towards these rights and these commitments. With that being said, let's look into something very important with
Yeah.
regards to the point of education. Again, the parents need to be there for their children. And let me share with you some of the incidents that we usually encounter in the fatwa councils when it comes to the part of the children.
Hmm.
And here, when I'm saying children, I don't only mean young or very young people, rather, uh, they can be almost at a university
Hmm.
level. And this is what they share with us, that they tell us, yes, our parents uh, have been doing their best to make money for us, to pay for our college, to pay for our expenses, but they were not there for us. And this is why many problems have occurred.
Hmm.
And this is the piece of advice, since you are talking here about effective Islamic parenting. We need to understand that raising children Islamically takes time. And this is why, for example,
Sure.
in this
Sure.
regard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا, that you need to enjoin performing the prayer with regard to your family, your spouse, and your children. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا, and be persevering, be extremely patient
Yeah,
in
exactly.
your pursuance of guiding them to perform the prayer. So the verse didn't only say wasbir, it didn't only state merely to be patient,
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
wastabir alayha. This is
yeah,
why, commenting on this, they said, even if you have to remind them 1 million times and still more needs to be done, still you need to be patient and persevere with this, because this is one of the duties of the guardian, or the duties of the parent towards the family. So this is again the point here. Being an effective and a successful parent goes beyond only providing food and money. You need to be involved in the life of the child. And you have mentioned the report that is attributed to the Prophet ﷺ,
alayhi salatu
as he
wassalam.
said, play with them for 7 years, then accompany and educate them for another 7 years, and then be almost like their friend for 7 years, and then be there for them to overwatch everything. So all of this provides for us a clear understanding of how important it is to embrace one's children and to provide for all of their needs, be they physical, spiritual, or mental. And let me stress here the importance of this mental support,
Yeah.
because
Uh,
also one of the points, yeah, please, if you have something to
I
add or
was
to recap.
just about to comment on the one which
Yeah,
is related to وأمر أهلك بالصلاة واصطبر عليها, the
yeah,
point of واصطبر, commenting on the linguistic part,
yeah,
the Arabic linguistic part, that we have wasbir, like just
yeah,
be patient, but be extremely patient.
yes,
Subhanallah, happens as that even for some parents, they ask their children
yeah,
to pray. For example, let's say that their kid is about like 25 year old or something.
yes,
So he just feels that you do not need to tell me what to do and what not to do. Then the parent start telling the kid, you need to pray. Then the kid, you say, I don't want to pray, or any other similar thing. So
yeah,
the parents say, what should I do? I just told him, and he never accept my,
yeah,
he never accepts my advice whatsoever. So what happens is that they give up, which is
mm,
not okay, as you said now, that
yes,
they are supposed to do this not only once, twice, thrice, but even a million times. It's like a lifetime responsibility for the parent to
Yeah.
keep reminding their children of doing the prayer and even doing the righteous deeds as all. And subhanallah, Allah emphasized on this one, especially praying, because subhanallah is like the second pillar of Islam and how important it is whatsoever. And also
Yes.
there's, yeah, I'm sorry for commenting on this one, but mashallah, you
Sure.
mentioned a very like very fruitful points. Wallahi, the point of educating our kids uh with, you know, like having this Quranic background. Like I do not just like teach him, or I do not just like raise him to be a good person in the society whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's good. But being a good person in the society with this Quranic background, that every single action they do in their lives are guided by Quran, or having this source which is Quran, this is one of the most amazing things. And this one actually reminds me of this hadith of سبعة يظلهم الله في ظله يوم لا ظل
Yes.
إلا ظله. Like the seven people who are going to be guided and that are going to be shaded in Allah's shade at the end of the day, whenever there's not going to be any shade other than His. Like, and he mentioned one of them, وشاب نشأ في طاعة الله, which is like a young kid that he grow. Like you can help me translating this one, like وشاب نشأ
Yeah.
في طاعة الله,
uh,
like the one.
and a young individual or a young person
Yes.
who was raised in obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, subhanallah. And also, like we mentioned in this one, like وَرَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِد, like this
And
man
another
whose
man
his, yeah,
whose
his
heart
heart
is
is all the
attached to the
time.
mosque. Yeah.
Exactly. He's like attached to the mosque whatsoever. So the point here that we're not just talking about like being good people in the society, not just
Yeah.
being good people in the community, being successful, maybe getting like the faculty that
Yeah.
they all the time wanted to be in, having money, having good like reputation in the community whatsoever. But as I said right now, every single thing must be having this Quranic background. So my job as a, or my duty as a parent, is not just helping them to memorize Quran, but
Yes.
educating them with Quran, if I can say. So
Definitely. And in this context, let me highlight here, Sheikh Muhammad, a very subtle meaning that we find in the Quranic verse,
yeah,
which instructs the children to be obedient and to be dutiful to their
yeah,
parents.
yeah,
As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
yeah,
وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا
uh-huh,
كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. And that's, say, O my Lord, have mercy on them as they have educated and raised me when I was little or when I was very young. So here we understand in Arabic language, kama رباني صغيرة, we understand here the kaf is for the ta'lil, or the kaf here is to give the meaning of the wisdom behind or the
yeah,
reason behind.
yeah,
So here it says kama rabbayani, which is as they have raised me and as they have educated me. So it
yeah.
is not only as they have fed me or as they have given me money,
Food or money
rather
or
it is tarbiyah. So this is the essence of the duty of the parents towards the children, and thus the rights of the children. This point of tarbiyah, this point of raising and education and educating the children
hmm.
ethically and Islamically.
Yeah, you also reminded me of something I'm sorry for interrupting your
Sure, sure.
your
Yeah.
speech, but I'd like actually to comment on this one, as subhanallah, um, we have so many kinds of parents, a kind that educate their children just to be worldly happier, like they're successful whatsoever,
Mm-hmm.
and they go to the club, they for example like practice one of the sports, they have their hobbies, and whatsoever, they're healthy
Mm.
and good.
Yeah.
The other kinds of parents that they just pay attention
Mm-hmm.
to the part related to deen, the part related to Quran, the part related to just you need
Mm.
to memorize Quran, you need to not to do one, two, three, and they totally forget about the other part. So we have over here two kinds of parents. The first one takes care of dunya, and the other one takes care of deen, which is, in other words, not totally correct, because all the time the Islam asks us to balance, so we must
Definitely.
pay
Yes.
attention to this one and
Mm.
add this one, so just like when anything, because like the main reason for us being here is to
Yeah.
worship Allah and to make earth a better place to live in, which is like ta'mir, if you can say.
Definitely. Yes.
So as a parent, as an Islamic parent, let's make a summarization for this. You have this duty to your kid, which is to raise them Islamically
Yeah.
in a very good way, and to
Definitely.
make sure that you educate them and you give them all the support and all the things that they need. Uh, you take care of them as kids and you take care of them as young Muslims. So as a
Yeah.
Muslim and as a kid, you give them an hour of memorizing Quran.
Yeah.
So you give them an hour of playing whatsoever. Because it reminded me of this metaphor that we use in Egypt, like which is Sa'al Rabbak and Sa'al Albak, like an hour for Allah and an hour for yourself, which is all the time is misused because a lot of people misunderstand this one. Like for me, what I understand that if you'd like to be, or if we can say, like 1 hour worshiping Allah and 1 hour just enjoying life, which is actually good at the end of the day. So, as a parent, please take care of this one. So, your son or your daughter, your kids generally, will be raised as Allah ask us to do, and as the Prophet would like us. Would like our children to be. So please, Imam Hussein, let's move on to the next point, please.
Yeah, and even before moving on, because you have already highlighted many points here,
Yeah.
and there is a hadith
I'm sorry
from
for
the
doing
Prophet.
this. I just
No,
got
no,
a little
it's
bit,
really great and it's very
because
enriching for
the
the.
topic just, I don't know, I just like feel super
Definitely,
interested to this one.
yes, definitely it is, and of course, what you have said, it's very enriching to the webinar, and I highly appreciate all the points that you have highlighted. And just to address some points here, let me also tell you and all our dear respected viewers that there is a clear statement from the Prophet ﷺ in this regard, and that's كفى بالمرء إثما أن يضيع من يعول.
Hmm.
That it is such big and enormous mistake and thus a disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, i.e., it is a major sin to neglect the rights of the people or the human beings that the person is responsible for.
Hmm.
So, whenever the person is responsible for other human beings, i.e., there are rights for those other human beings over this person, it is such a great and a grave sin to
Hmm.
neglect their rights and not to fulfill their rights. So,
Yeah.
what about abusing such you see? So, the mere negligence is such a great sin. So
Yeah.
how about intentionally abusing the people that the person is responsible for? Definitely, it is much more worse. With that being said, we need to understand that being a parent is not something that you take for granted. Rather, it is something that needs preparation. And
Yeah.
this is why
Sure.
let me here uh, praise all the efforts in many Muslim communities across the globe. And also, this is what we have been doing at Al Azhar to organize and to facilitate these educational and programs that qualify young
Hmm.
people
Yes.
who are looking to get married so that they really understand and they really appreciate what it means to be a parent and to be responsible for children and to raise children. And
Yeah.
let me say this very openly and in very clear terms. Some people think that being a parent is something that comes naturally.
Yeah.
Is something that you just get married and then you have children and then you will know what to do, or let's figure out later what we will do with these
Children
children. This
whatsoever.
is
Yeah.
not the case at all, and this is why the Prophet ﷺ was always there to guide the companions in this regard. And let me here mention a
Yeah.
very important incident, Sheikh Muhammad, in this
Yeah.
regard.
Please. Please.
We understand from the Sunnah or from the life of the Prophet ﷺ
Alayhi
that
salatu wassalam.
on one occasion the Prophet ﷺ was kissing his grandchildren, Al
Yeah.
Hassan and Al Hussein, may Allah be pleased with them.
Yeah. Allahumma ameen.
So a man was there and he saw this. He saw the Prophet ﷺ kissing his children. And
Yes.
then the man, seeing this, he said to the Prophet, peace be upon him, you kiss your children, as if the man found something very
Abnormal.
weird in this,
Yeah.
or this is something that is not supposed to take place. How come you be so affectionate towards your children and
Yeah.
to embrace them and to hold them and to be very
You're being so emotional.
down to earth
Yeah.
towards them. Exactly. So he said what? And this is a very important point here. He said, I have 10 children and I have never kissed any of them. And I
Like
have kissed
10 children?
none of them. Yes, he said, I have 10 children and I never kissed any of them.
Hmm.
So, upon hearing this, the Prophet ﷺ, in a disapproving manner, he said, what shall I do if you have no mercy left in your heart? So, with these words, the Prophet ﷺ is guiding the practice of the parent towards his or her children, that it is one of the rights of the children and one's kids to be supported emotionally and
Sure.
taking care
Totally, yes.
of their mental health and their mental well-being is very important. And let me share with you here a story which is very sad but true. And the only reason why I'm sharing this is for all parents to be aware of this and thus to avoid this.
Hmm.
It has happened that, and this happens in our work and the fatwa councils. Some young people they come and they tell us, I do everything in my power to please my parents and to take care of them and to be dutiful to them, but they are constantly neglecting my rights. And not only this, they even mention things that happened when the children were very young. For instance, they would tell us, even when I was at school, one of my parents would come, and instead of encouraging me in my class and in front of my teacher and in front of my classmates, rather one of them or both, they used to discourage me, and they used to put me down and belittle my efforts in order to learn, and this is why I didn't do well at school. So
Subhanallah.
the only reason why
This
I
is
am
a real
mentioning this,
situation, right?
yes, sadly, yes, but it is true. And I repeat, the only reason why I am sharing this
Yeah.
is to ring a bell
Hmm.
and raise awareness among the parents that don't think that your children are very young and they will not remember this or they will not recall this
Yes.
as they grow older. Rather, you are abusing them emotionally, and they will not forget this. This is now imprinted in their memory
Hmm.
because this has to do with their emotions and their feelings. And as I have mentioned, Islam makes it very clear taking care of the emotional well being of the children is very important. So much so that not only the Prophet ﷺ used to kiss and to hug and to play with his children, rather, we understand that even when it was about one of the pillars of Islam, even
Hmm.
the very second pillar of Islam, the
Yeah.
Prophet ﷺ was seen and observed to have prolonged his prostration. As the Prophet ﷺ was praying, the companions noticed that he made a very long prostration. He spent a lot of time in the sujood or while prostrating in the prayer. So the companions, after the Prophet ﷺ
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
has completed or finished performing the prayer, they said, "Oh Messenger of Allah, you have taken so long time during one of the prostrations." And he said, "Yes, Al Hassan and Al Hussein, they were playing, may Allah be pleased with them, the grandchildren of the Prophet, and
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
they got on top of my shoulders as I was during my prostration.
Hmm.
And lest they should feel uncomfortable or be startled, I opted for remaining in my sujood. I decided to stay longer on the
Yes,
sujood
so they're gonna
until
gonna
they
be
have
trigger or
had
something.
enough and they have got gotten down from the top of my shoulders and the top of
Yeah.
my back.
Yeah.
So here imagine the Prophet ﷺ taking longer in the prayer for the sake of his children. He didn't say that this is a pillar of Islam. I'm praying and I'm standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or between the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us that you have also, out of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to take care of the emotional well being and the mental well being and the emotional stability of one's children.
Yeah.
Not only this, not only by providing this example,
Hmm.
rather, we understand that when the Prophet ﷺ would hear a child crying
Yeah,
while
subhanallah.
leading the prayer,
Hmm.
you see, whenever the Prophet ﷺ would be leading the prayer in his mosque in Medina, because definitely it was men and women praying with the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet
Alright, so to
ﷺ
some in the very
would.
same place, but there is like there were like a cover,
So my
like
point
a
is,
part in
men
between
and
them.
women were praying with the Prophet ﷺ,
Alright, so to
and
some.
whenever the Prophet ﷺ would hear a child or a baby crying,
Yeah.
he would shorten the prayer. He would hasten in his performance of the prayer so that the prayer would not take long enough.
Mm,
Why? Out of being considerate and thoughtful of the emotional well being of the mother, because definitely she would be preoccupied during the prayer with her child, and
sure.
also the child, he or she, they need something, they are not happy,
Yeah, they're
and
not
this is what
crying
they need
for
to be
for
attended
like
for by the parent or by one of them.
yeah,
So all of this is indicative of how important it is to take care and to pay close attention to the emotional well-being of the children.
yeah,
Another point here, and I want all our dear respected viewers
yeah,
to
please.
listen closely to this.
Hmm.
You need to cherish your children.
You need to do what? I'm
Support,
sorry, can you say this again?
you need to cherish,
Hmm.
to take care, and to treasure your children and be there for them and be supportive of them. Otherwise, they will seek this somewhere else,
Oh,
and then there will be unpleasant consequences. Let me repeat this again
yeah,
because
please.
it is very, very important and very, very significant. As parents, each and every parent needs to cherish, treasure, support, and embrace their children. Otherwise, they will seek this somewhere else, and then there will be unpleasant consequences.
Yeah.
Let me tell you of an incident here, and it has been reported to us more than once that something happens, I mean, something wrong, sadly, but still true, and then both the parents and their child, he or she, they come and something wrong happened. They have been, I mean, one of the children, they have been involved in an illicit relationship. Then when we listen to both of them, we hear and we try to understand what is happening. Then when we listen to the parents on their own, and then to the child, he or she, on their own, what we find out is that, I mean, as a result or as an outcome of listening to the child, again, he or she, we find out that there is an emotional vacuum in the life of this child.
Hmm.
And it was this emotional vacuum that was exploited, and it led to being involved in this illicit relationship. I'm not saying that this is the only reason
Yeah, sure.
for something like this to happen, but definitely, since you are talking about
But one of the
this here in the
main
context
reasons.
of it, definitely, since you are talking about this here in this webinar, it is very important to stress, to underscore, and to highlight this very reason for, as I have mentioned, unpleasant consequences that ensues as a result of the emotional negligence of one's children. Thus, we repeat and we state it very clearly, being a successful parent is not only about providing money and food, rather, it is about being there for your children and that they know that it is safe for them to reach out and to seek the help of their children. And it is very important to have both of them, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is best for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created us, and Allah knows that as human beings, in order to be raised a child, needs the child needs the father and the mother. And it is one of the essential rights of each and every child to have this right being fulfilled, of being taken care of a by a father and by a mother, because this combination is very important, i.e., to be taken care of throughout their life stages by both a father and a mother.
Yeah. What an
Yeah,
important point. I really feel how, or I really see how important this point is, giving the emotional support to our kids and giving them whatever they need. Like every single kid needs to be treated as a human being, like somebody who has emotions, somebody who has feelings,
yeah,
somebody who needs support sometimes, somebody who has ups, somebody who has downs, somebody who
yes,
has happy moments that need the parents to
yeah,
share these happy moments with them, or maybe like sad moments, or like moments whenever they feel that they're super down whatsoever. They need someone
sure,
to actually give them the support that they actually need in this time, or they actually need in this situation.
yes,
um, Whenever we get to do this, we're gonna have a healthy kids in the future. And guess what? Whenever we have a healthy kid, we're gonna have a healthy adult, and we're gonna have in the future a healthy family, like
sure,
an adult, like a man who knows how to run his family in a good way. Then at the end of the day, in the future, we're gonna have this successful
yeah,
relation within families, like the family, like the parents and the kids. At the end of the day, we're gonna have this strong community where we
yeah,
have all of the family ties are actually like connected, which is one of the most important things, if we can say. So, as a parent, as we talked about in this webinar, and I'd like to thank you again, Imam, for picking this topic. As a summarization for this one, as a parent, you need to make sure that you give your kids whatever they need. You need to deal with them as a human beings. And we mentioned in the very beginning that you owe them three things: picking a suitable name, raising them with a Quranic background, like you give them all the educational, or if you can say, you give them all the Islamic information that they need. The Quran is their own guidance. Like you replace the glasses and you put Quran in here so they can see the world as Allah wants. And the last point, which is not forcing them to get to marry to somebody that they do not like, or if we can say, the right of picking the suitable spouse, as you said. If there's a man, we're gonna pick a woman, or a female, we're gonna pick a man whatsoever. Um, and subhanallah, لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to deal with his kids and also like grand children very well and kindly. Like he gave them a lot, and as we said, it's like an investment. Like you invest now in your kids, and guess what? Every single thing you do now, we're gonna harvest in the future. Subhanallah. Like I hear a lot of stories about uh, kids who are not actually happy at all, and they just hate their parents for no reason. But guess what? There is a reason. The reason is that the parent wasn't actually dealing with them in a good way, then they whenever they get old or something, they're gonna just like feel super sad. Oh, like my kids are not taking taking care of me. They threw me somewhere like in a place where people take care of me, but they do not. Guess what? Because you are the one who did this, and every single one harvests whatever they actually did in the past. So may Allah um, guide all the parents, may Allah guide all the Muslims all over the world to have this healthy relation, whether from the parents' sides or from the kids' sides, or from the kids' side. Thank you so much, Imam Hussein. Thank you, all of our dear viewers. I hope that this webinar was super interesting and you like the topic and also the information mentioned on it whatsoever. And inshallah, every single week, as we do, we're going to have another webinar at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Please make sure that you follow the page so you can get to see all the activities and all the things that we do online. And for our Friday, all the time, we have this Quranic clinic where you get a free evaluation for your Quran recitation abilities. Um, Also, you can join the Islamic parenting group where you find a lot of Muslim families sharing a lot of interesting topics. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of Muslimitos community. And sure, we're going to be meeting you next Thursday. So take care of yourselves and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Imam, for doing this. Inshallah, but the next time we're going to have another interesting topic as well, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for
Inshallah.
all your efforts.
Allahumma ameen. You know, we were thinking of having this like idea